Hello everyone, welcome back to FS2020 and welcome to the weather portion of my long-term comparison video. We find ourselves today at Princess Juliana International Airport, TNCM, and we have a live weather setting on our X-Plane, and in addition to that, I have a live camera of Princess Juliana International to compare to. As you can see, it looks a little more sunset right now than it does in the real-world footage. Not really sure how to adjust that as far as lighting goes. It is mid-season change, obviously, so there's that to be considered. But let's take a look at what we have for options in terms of weather settings, weather parameters, what we can do for live weather and whatnot. And my live feed for Princess Juliana went down. That's okay, we don't need that right now. So single long runway, obviously, those of you who know Princess Juliana, it's a very large runway capable of handling aircraft as big as the 727-400, which regularly makes scheduled landings via KLM. Traffic not looking too accurate there. We've got some Delta 777s and an Emirati 777. Smaller GA airplanes do also use this runway. There was a ATR-72 on the live cam that landed not too long ago. So let's take a look at what we have for our weather parameters. So our UI, and I guess we'll gloss over the UI for both as well and what it takes to change weather in each of these. But our weather changes are going to be this little icon up here on the top, our flight configuration. And you can access that either through this quick shortcut here, or you can go to flight and flight configuration. Or additionally, there's a shortcut key. In this case, by default, it is the tilde key. And that'll bring up your, or it's supposed to bring up your, oh yeah, okay, just took a second. So you can see this brings up our total flight configuration window here. So we've got options to change airplanes, change location, change time of day, or change our weather, should we choose to. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. And there's various ways that we can alter our weather. If we go to manually enter weather, we can set different cloud layers. We can set our general visibility. So if we want a really low visibility day, let's say like 3.3 statute miles, we can set incredibly high levels of precip, set our airport temperature, and an altimeter setting. Runway wetness, we can do either a wet runway, a runway with standing water, snow, ice, and a mix of the two. We'll go standing water max. And you can set your wave heights and the direction that the waves are coming from. So in this case, we'll have them hitting the beach. So 28 is going to be our runway, so we're going to go just past 90 degrees. There we go. And then you can set variation as time elapses. So we'll do some variation, evolution over time. You can have it improving, deteriorating, or leave it. And we'll do gradually deteriorating. And then if you wanted to, you could set different cloud layers and different wind layers as well. You can add and remove wind layers, so you can obviously delete the wind layer there. You can add a cloud layer. And then there's presets as well, so you can do large cell thunderstorms. We'll make that a preset. That resets all of our parameters over here, so we can reset our visibility to an MVFR condition. Precip severe, we'll leave that. Airport temperature, we'll make it low 70s, and obviously with a thunderstorm, we'll have a slightly lower barometric pressure. Wave heights reset to 270, we'll leave it there. Some variation and gradually deteriorating. So we'll hit done, and then we will hit apply, and then it'll prompt us saying, hey, you've changed. Actually, no, it won't, because we didn't change our location or our airport. So now you can see our weather here has changed. We've got those really big standing water puddles on the runway, and those will affect your braking. In my opinion, the rain effects, the actual droplets, do need a little bit of work. They're okay if you're stationary, but if you're moving the camera, or more importantly, in an airplane in the air, you very often get these weird, like, lightsaber-y effects. I don't know if you saw those there or not, but they definitely don't do you any favors when you're flying. It looks a little, like I said, a little Star Wars-y, especially at night if you've got a landing light or something on. As far as ground level, we've got a King Air here that we're using as the fill-in aircraft. I do really like the water reflections. So you can see we've got wet runway, and then where the little divot is, you can see the nose gear, or the main landing gear reflecting. Water sheen on the airplane looks very nice. And if we head inside, the water effects on the windows look pretty good. I think, personally, Flight Sim does them a little bit better. One thing of note, just like with all of the default Flight Sim aircraft, if you actuate your windshield wipers, they don't actually wipe. Oh yeah, they do actually. Never mind. I take that back. I was experimenting with that earlier, and it didn't seem to do anything. So, that's actually a positive mark for X-Plane there. You actually do get actual window wipage, as compared to in Flight Sim, it's just basically just a windshield wiper texture. But that's a look at the static weather setting. We'll go ahead and fire up the King Air, and we'll do a high-speed taxi down there anyway to see how water effects and that sort of thing are affected by the aircraft as it passes over them. And we'll take a look-see at what water effects, if any, we get in the sim. I can already see just under a high-speed taxi we're getting spray from the nose as well as the main landing gear there. Go ahead and initialize our high-speed taxi once I get situated and lined up here. And you can see that spray starting to increase. And we'll go beta power. So no added spray from beta, it looks like. As far as I know, you would get some degree of spray in beta power off of a King Air. Nothing crazy. So go ahead and hop into something a little bit bigger and see if we can't get spray that way. Alright, and here we are aboard a Boeing 737 native to the sim. One other thing I did want to mention is I do see a pretty healthy frame rate drop whenever you rapidly move the camera. It seems like these rain droplets drop you about 2 to 3 frames. At least they do on my current hardware, but it's not a huge deal. Nonetheless, we'll go ahead and throttle up and see what effects we get off of the old 7.3. So no added spray. I've got the park brake on right now. No added spray from the CFM 56s. Which those of you who've seen the fence riders at Princess Juliana know that there is a very, very good amount of fence spray. So we'll go ahead and do a roll takeoff now. See what we get off of the gear. Straight away you can see those engine effects. That's very cool to see. Light spray off of the nose gear and main landing gear. Heavy spray, actually. I do really, really like those engine HAL effects, and I think you actually get a little bit of mist off of the overwing as well. And try and do a premature rotation. See if I can model that. I cannot. So we're going to go reverse thrust. Still looks like no, oh, we're off of the runway. And we're in the water. How about that? Alright. Well, we're here to just talk about crash damage. We'll talk about crash damage on a different video. But looks like no engine spray that's modeled. We'll go ahead and crash into this sailboat. And then after that, we'll take a look at what Flight Sim has to offer at Princess Juliana. And here we are now loaded up in Flight Sim. Let me turn off my filter there. There's our true-to-life look at the sim with real-world weather. Again, just a reminder, this is the live camera feed and what the airport actually looks like versus what we have going on in Flight Sim. The one extra, or I guess note up for Flight Sim, is you're actually able to edit the weather in real time and live. So obviously we have live weather selected now, we have the live time that we're following, but if I toggle off live weather, we can make the weather pretty much whatever we want. So these are some presets that I installed, but down below you can see some of the default Flight Sim options. So if we go storm, you can see in real time it loaded in that weather condition. We've now got wet runways, that sort of thing. I can dial down the lightning, I can dial down the preset in real time, and it'll re-render that in real time. I can dial the preset up, dial the lightning back up. We'll just use this as a preset for now. And if I head back to my airplane, another King Air, we've got a 350 as compared to the 90 we had before. We'll take a look at some of the ground effects. So you do have a little bit of ground depth and similarly nice reflections in the puddles. I do think the reflections were a little bit better and a little more defined in X-Plane, but that could just be because the puddles were slightly larger. You do obviously still have reflections to a degree. Again, that aircraft sheen looking very nice in the wet. And you also get those little raindrop hitting the fuselage and wing and whatever horizontal surfaces exist. No individual puddle modeling for the raindrops. They just kind of hit the ground and then go away. Whereas in X-Plane you could actually see the raindrops would hit puddles and create ripples. These just look like little 2D forward-facing sprites. Doesn't make that much of a difference from your back. Not terribly, but it is something worth noting. Going inside of the aircraft, that's the wrong button, so is that. There we go. Going inside of the aircraft, what I had mentioned before, as far as the wipers are concerned, they are just a effective overlay. So if I turn on our wipers, you can see they're not actually clearing any of the rain effects, although I think that the rain effects in Flight Sim, at least the windshield effects and that sort of stuff, do look better. The disappearing drops, I'm assuming that's just for modeling reasons, but I do think the rain windshield effects... Thank you. I do think the rain effects look a little bit better. So we'll go ahead and start up the King Air and do the same test we did before. And find something comparable to the 737, because obviously there is no default 737 in the sim. And take a look at the ground effects. Alright, so here we are with our quickly made preset on a wet runway. And we'll take a look at what ground effects that we get with the King Air. First do a standing brake run up. There's no real effects there, and we're already overrunning the brakes, so we'll just let out of the brakes. You can see we've got some pretty healthy mist coming off of the tires. The wheels do that weird flight sim de-render thing, and nothing with beta. So again, we'll come to a stop here, we'll throttle up. Yeah, nothing coming off of the ground with beta. But the rain did stop from where we were. It looks like the runway actually dried up in that short of a time. I don't know how you go from throwing huge clouds of spray to a dry runway. Yeah, very quickly dried up. So we'll go ahead and hop in the default Asobo A320 and repeat the same test. Alright, here we are in the default Asobo A320. You can see we're now on runway 10, still at Princess Juliana. We will go ahead and run up the engines. Ignore the lighting, I do have a third-party lighting mod that makes it look a heck of a lot better. So we'll run them up. No rearward spray effects, so we'll let off the brakes. Try to maintain some center line there. You can see we've got a little bit of spray coming up off of the main landing gear as well as back spray. If I go reverse thrust, looks like no real added spray there either. So it looks like neither of the sims really models reverse thrust spray. I do have that weird oh, well, looks like we're going in the water again. And I have noticed little weird trail off things like that. So we've got, I don't even know where that's coming from, but there was rainwater seemingly coming out of the fuselage or something going through the engine. That is a pretty normal, I don't want to call it normal, but to be expected thing on flight sim airplanes, unfortunately. So we're going to go ahead and just park up here. That'll be fine. And then I want to take a look at rain effects while I drag my nose gear across the way here. Oh, you know what? That'll be good enough. So I'm going to go drone camera, and we're going to go really, really far away from our airplane so we don't have any added noise. And we're going to take a listen to what happens as we change our wind sounds. So you can hear right now we do have pretty good wind. Got a 15 knot steady crosswind. Actually, no, it's straight up and down the runway, but a pretty steady wind. If I decrease that wind, you end up hearing a lot more ambience. In fact, let me bring up the sim just a little bit, make it a little bit louder for you guys. And if I increase the wind, borderline hurricane levels, aside from literally making a small tornado, it would appear, you can hear the added wind speed. All the way up to 91 knots now. And then in addition to that, if I go back over to here, oh, I think I might have crashed the sim. I did. Flight sim. I'll be back. All right, the last thing that I want to address now that we're recovered from our flight sim crash is wave management. Obviously, there's amphibious airplanes in both X-Plane and Flight Sim, and we're going to look at how wave height's controlled in Flight Sim. Obviously, we have the slider in X-Plane to allow us to change our wave height. That, unfortunately, is not an option in Flight Sim. It is all done through the wind settings. So if I go to my wind layer, and you can see now we've got very, very calm seas. If I increased my wind settings, you can see the waves get a lot more aggressive the higher I have my wind speed. So they're directly connected, I guess, directly linked, which is okay in most cases. But if you wanted to have a higher wind day versus low waves, or the inverse, have, you're flying in an area where there's high waves from a current or something like that, but you don't want crazy high winds, there's not the option for that. It's all done through this wind slider, and obviously as you change your wind direction, that's going to change some of the characteristics of your waves. But anyway, that's going to do it for episode 2. Took a look at some of the weather presets and the options for changing weather, as well as a quick look at the UI settings for each. And next time around, I think we'll take a look at the UI more in depth, what it takes to set up a flight. And then we'll also take a look at loading times for each sim, because I have noticed a pretty considerable difference. But that's for next time. Thank you this time for watching. I appreciate it deeply, and as always, I will catch you in the next video. Take it easy.